We should probably start off with what is creative nonfiction? Okay. Obviously, writers write, but what do they write? Well, we write books, stories, poems, sure. What about blogs? Fiction or nonfiction? And you see, here's the thing contemporary writers often blur that line between fiction and reality. Um, and they do so by kind of combining those traditional forms, the forms of fiction and nonfiction. And in doing so, they kind of create this fresh way to reflect on the world around us and their experiences with life and all of that. Writers of creative nonfiction, they use the standard elements of fiction. The thing, if you're going to define the genre of fiction, the characteristics that you would look at to then write about real life events. So, the types of genres of creative nonfiction would include things like personal essay, memoir, travel essays, food writing, literary journalism, so forth, so on. And more and more and more. You've actually probably read a lot more creative nonfiction than you realize. Some of the biggest names in the literary world today are definitely people who write creative nonfiction. Because here's some of the characteristics here. Creative nonfiction, it's both factually true, but also artistically elegant. Okay, factually true. So it's not this dry nonfiction writing. It reads just like fiction. Okay, it reads with all of that same level of I don't know, immediacy and description and all of that sucks you into it. Right? So it's both factually true but also artistically elegant. It allows the writer the opportunity to inject themselves into the into the narrative, because they're usually the narrator. Usually the writer is the voice of the story. They become the protagonist. You, as you write creative nonfiction, become the central character in your own story, which is really cool. It's a hybrid of both nonfiction and literature. Okay, so the two of those are kind of coming together, creating this new thing. And it is, as I said there at the beginning, it is often referred to as the elusive fourth genre. Okay, the elusive fourth genre, the fourth genre. It's a wide genre. It encompasses everything from like what we call new journalism. That would be writers like Tom Wolfe or Truman Capote or Hunter S. Thompson, people like that. Nature writing, food, travel writing, people like Anthony Bourdain. Personal memoir and essay, people like David Sedaris. The nonfiction novel. I mean, there's all sorts of different aspects that count as creative nonfiction. Okay, it's got a lot of flexibility to the form, which is really neat. It can actually follow, the format of an essay, the format of a short story. You can even write in poetry, in verse, and it'd be creative nonfiction. Okay, so literally, it's like all reins are off. I mean, you can kind of do whatever in terms of format. It's a literary approach to nonfiction. That means you're using things like maintaining a tone of voice, point of view, dialogue, description, so much description, flashback, flash forward, so forth and so on. Okay, all those things that we were talking about with fiction writing, all of those terms, all of those bits of figurative language, all of that applies to creative nonfiction. Okay, and of course, creative nonfiction is all about kind of exploring an idea or an issue. Because that's going to be that thing that grounds it. That's the thing that makes it universal is the way, whatever that anecdote is, the way that moment or anything like that, how that kind of relates to this universal theme. There you go. And so in the process, self-discovery, personal exploration, these things are going to be the natural result of creative nonfiction. All right, so I hope you're going to like creative nonfiction as we're going through this section. Obviously, it has a big personal presence. It means the writer's voice creates an identity. And so it's usually written in first person because it's as you, the writer, are experiencing whatever that moment is. Okay. Great opportunity to have that first person point of view, but still be in that genre of fiction or of nonfiction. But it's really cool. Usually it has a lot of, well, it does a good job of trying to convey the truth, okay, whatever the universal truth may be. Um, the subject matter is going to be documentable. In other words, yes, this is all factual stuff here. So you're including facts and critical analysis in the writing. Okay, documentable subject matter. As a writer of it, some stuff that you want to make sure that you do. You want to make sure that you are aiming for a clear style, a clear voice, um, which is interesting because I mean you always want to have a voice as a writer, right? You want to have your own style and your sound and all that. But when it comes to creative nonfiction, this is much more your actual literal voice than anything else. Your writing style when you're writing fiction may sound one way, but when you're writing creative nonfiction, well, that's often the way you would actually sound, right? Like when you're talking. So you want that very clear style, natural rhythm, tone of voice, color, dramatic pace, all those things we talk about. Okay, you want to make sure that you're aiming for very clear versions of that. Creative nonfiction is usually it's not, as a general rule, it's not written for like the literary elite. Okay, it's in general, it's written for real people. And it's there to enrich their lives in some way. It's about, you're writing about real events, writing about real people in your own circumstances, and in the process they come to life, and you're recording them in there. So I guess part of what you're asked to do to create good creative nonfiction is to have faith in the value and importance of human beings and human events. Okay, and that's probably the heart of the entire genre. Could go to that one statement: you as a writer having faith in the value of humanity. Okay, because when you do that and you record those experiences, it shows through, and you end up with an amazing product that shines this beautiful light onto some sort of moment. All right, so hopefully that kind of clarifies some of what creative nonfiction actually is. Okay, so let's get the ball rolling with your very first assignment.